Good afternoon, Stephen. You all right?
Good afternoon, Richard. Yes, very well.
More questions than answers, but we had a conversation this morning about visibility of assets, and aren't the government looking for some feedback in terms of what types of things that we're looking at?
Yeah, that's right. So what's meant by visibility of assets is the products and equipment that are being installed into people's homes, even in commercial industrial premises, that can potentially have an impact on the network itself and the quality of the power that's being provided from the network operator. It actually falls under ESQCR. I believe it's Regulation 25. That if you're doing anything that can interfere with the network's power supply, then you are required to notify the DNO. So the government recently carried out a study, and they think that less than 40%, I believe from recollection, of these assets that have an impact on the network have been notified to the DNOs. So when we talk about visibility of assets, it's about the DNOs having visibility of what is happening on their network. You know, what EV charge points are going in, what solar PV arrays, what battery storage, anything of a reasonable sort of magnitude that can have an impact on the quality of the network.
So anything with like significant load, is that what you're saying? Because that'll then affect the loading of that local transformer and maybe affect the voltages and things like that, and capacity on the network and things.
Yeah.
So I suppose, again, if the local DNO doesn't know, they can't allow for it. So your voltages might fall below, a certain percentage, or indeed,
That's right.
if you've got a lot of solar PV, it may exceed, and then it could cause issues with open devices potentially.
It could, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And, and potentially overloading the legs of the LV network.
Right.
Imbalancing the LV network.
Of course,
if you've got, 6 people up one street that have just installed EV charge points and nobody else has, and you've
all
got
on line one, for instance, maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's that aspect of it. And it's also, the DNOs have a lot of work ahead of them. They're trying to build and develop the network and keep pace with the way that the network's been used and the demand and the prosumer element of it. So they need to plan these things out, not just years, but sometimes 5 years in advance when they've got improvement and general maintenance on their network. Yeah. So they base that on the information, the data that they have available. If they don't have that in your particular area, let's say, everybody's got solar PV, EV charge points, but nobody's notified the DNO, then that will fall further down their list on priority for carrying out any maintenance or improvement work on.
And is it law for a contractor to provide the DNO with that information or not, or is it just a recommendation? And why is it not happening?
Yeah, so it's actually falls within a statutory requirement. So ESQCR is a statutory document, not like BS 7671 or any of the.
So it's not guidance.
It's not guidance.
Law.
Yeah,
it's a bit like EAWR, electricity at work regulations.
Exactly. Yeah, it's in statute. So it's it's a requirement that must be met. Now ESQCR is it's an old standard. Even when you read through it, you can see it's very old sort of wording terminology. Yeah. However, the fundamentals are fairly clear. So, and I believe it's Regulation 25 says if there's anything that interferes with the power quality of the network, then it must be notified.
Okay.
So commonly, obviously, we have solar PV systems, battery storage systems, EV charge points, for example. If if it's of a certain capacity, then you need to notify the DNO prior to installation. Yeah. If it's below that, then you can notify them afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Which we've found through the evidence that's been gathered is the where it's failing the most, where we see that,
So with EV charger installations, we're finding then that they're not being notified at all.
That's
whether
correct,
it's before or indeed even after.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And there's a bit of a debate as to who has responsibility for notifying the DNO on this, but the bottom line is that the government are really acting on this at the moment because they see that the way things are developing with the push for everybody to move to electric transport, the kind of bigger drive on battery storage systems, solar PV, that there's a greater need now than there ever has been for the DNO to have visibility of what's happening on their network.
Because I suppose potentially it might cause a blackout or something. It might cause the local transformer to overheat, melt, or switch off, causing interruptions. And if you need continuity of supply or anything else, if it's essential,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Of
So,
course.
and this is where it follows into the ESQCR,
Right.
because that statutory requirement puts an obligation on the DNO to keep the lights on effectively.
Right,
So
okay.
they have to put all the appropriate measures in place to make sure that people are provided with the energy that they expect.
But of course, in order for them to ensure that they're doing that, they need to know, as you quite rightly said,
Exactly.
anything that's
Yeah.
going to adversely affect their, network.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's various different ways that this can be achieved.
Right.
From an electrical safety first perspective, we can help provide guidance to the consumer so they know what their responsibility is if they are given the information from their electrical installer,
Contractor, yeah.
from the contractor, so they can provide information to the DNO. For those installations that require prior notification, then we can use our influence across the sort of competent person schemes to say, like, this is something that needs to be carried out. Most do, to be fair. I think those that are working within the competent persons framework are aware of this. They're aware of statutory requirements. But it is just trying to influence that wider industry of the importance of doing so and the potential consequences if it's not done correctly.
And I suppose from our perspective as a charity is raise that awareness as well. Because
Yes.
I presume if a contractor's doing a Part P notification, is issuing an electrical installation certificate, surely they would do that notification at the same time, if that makes sense to the local DNO.
That would be the expectation.
thought.
That would make sense. Yep.
Yeah.
But it's actually been in place for a long time, where you're having a significant impact on the consumption or on the network in that area. But generally for domestic installations, it hasn't really been an issue because it's very rare that you would have an installation that would fall within that category. Of course, now EV charging and various things is really become more into the sort of focus of.
I suppose years gone by, if you'd had maybe 4 or 5, 6 storage heaters, that would be a significant load.
That's
might
right.
be something similar that would have an effect.
That's exactly right, yeah. And I use this example when speaking with people within the industry and they start questioning, it's this is an EV only thing. So no, it's not an EV only thing. It's actually, if you look at the origin of where that requirement comes from, it's anything that can have an impact on that network. Okay. So, if you install underfloor heating in
I was going to
5
say,
rooms in the property, then you may have gone above that threshold, and it may be in your interest to notify the DNO.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Okay. And so what are what are the government looking to get out of this at the end of the day?
Well, at the moment, what they're trying to establish, as far as I understand, is a one-fits-all solution for notifying DNOs. So this could possibly be a mechanism, a landing page on a website, a QR codes facility that you can register your products through a database that the DNOs can access, either for the individual DNO around the country or one that covers all DNOs around the country. Okay. So they're looking at trying to provide a mechanism to help facilitate the visibility of assets. So essentially trying to make it easier for industry, because the feedback and the feeling is that it's a little bit complex. Not many people are aware of exactly how to do it. Don't know which department of the DNO that they need to get through to. And again, coming back to who's responsible for providing that information. If the electrician says to the owner of a property, by the way, I've just installed this, here's your certificate, now you need to contact your supplier and let them know that we've done this. The customer, they go and they have their dinner, they go to work the next day, and then it's gone. It never gets done, and nobody ever chases them up about it. So.
Okay. So we've obviously got some work to do in this area then. So
yes. Yeah.
As and when this develops, I'm pretty sure that we'll have another conversation and
we hope to see the government response before the end of this year. And once that government response is out, we'll have an idea of the various different sort of comments and contributions to that call for evidence. And Electrical Safety First will be working closely with DESNZ to try and find sensible and practical solutions going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Exciting times then.
Yes.
Look forward to an update moving forward. Brilliant. Pleasure as always.
Thank you.